What's up, guys? It's me again, Christian Rodriguez, and it's been a while since I've filmed, but I wanted to talk about a book that I've recently read, and it would be very useful. It's a dating book. It's probably, I've gone through a lot of dating books, and I'm not talking about me being a dating expert. This is not a dating channel. This is not this is not something that I focus on. This is not a dating thing, right? This is not dating advice. So don't take it like this. Just take it off of my own opinion, right? And for my opinion on it is, I went through this book called Mode 1 by Alan Roger Curry. Got the audio book. It's actually very easy to listen to. It's very understandable. It's not boring. I highly recommend you get it. But now I'm just going to briefly talk about it, give my opinion on it, and basically I recommend you get the book. But I want to talk about um what I noticed from when I read that book. You know, I read the book. So obviously dating is something that if you're a healthy straight man, you're probably going to crave some sort of dating, sex, whatever it is, right? And what Mode 1 talks about in that book, he talks about how dating, how when men approach women, the issue that a lot of men, what most men do is they approach women and they're very indirect, right? Maybe if they're attracted, they might fluff her up with some small talk, talk about the weather, talk about nonsense, right? And he basically says it's very fake, it's very phony, and it's very manipulative, right? And come to think about it, it is. It really is, right? If you're voluntarily talking about the weather, right, to some girl, but deep down you really want to just have sex with her, you're just gonna beat around the bush and what pretend that the weather is what's really important and that's why you guys are talking. But in reality, you just want to sleep with her. And Curry talks about um, actually saying what you mean, right? So stating your intentions. And this kind of goes against because I've gone through a lot of dating books, and this goes against what other dating books have said. They'll say don't talk about sex too early because you'll scare her away. And Curry actually has a counter for that. He says you should talk about sex early within 5 minutes, right, of meeting her because it makes you into a manipulative. I mean, it helps you. First of all, you'll find out if the girl's into you. If the girl's into you, she would love it. She will love it. She'll reciprocate. She'll make it super easy for you to meet up with her. If the girl is maybe between warm water, she might test you a few times. But if the girl's not into you, she'll just outright reject you, right? And she might even appreciate your boldness. So, and the thing is, I noticed this because I started using this in my own life. I started using this with women I would meet, right? And even the women who would reject me with using this, many of them actually like appreciate the fact that I was very direct with them, that I wasn't playing games. And even some of them would admit to me, like on dates, they would tell me, there's guys who would show off their watch and they'll talk about how much money they make. Or they'll lie and they'll pretend like they want to be friends, which in reality they just want to sleep with me and I'll find out later on. And I find it weird. And girls would tell me that they appreciate my honesty with it. And and sure, I've gone a girl too that actually like slept with me because of it, right? And yes, there's a lot of rejection you're going to deal with when you go through this direct approach, but that's what I learned from this book, and that's why I thought it's a very good book to talk about, right? And it's not about just being a womanizer, being a player, unless that's something you really want to be. But what it's really about is keeping things real, right? Keeping things being very direct with women, saving your time and saving her time, right? Because when you're vague and ambiguous, right? What's going to happen is, first of all, for girls, sex for girls is higher risk. They can get pregnant. It's more social risk. They get slut shamed. But the thing I love about what Curry talks about is he talks about how girls are just as sexual as men. They just hide it. They have to hide it, right? A guy gets laid, people will give him a high five, freaking amazing, you're a stud, you're a player. Girls get it, you're a whore. And I'm not saying that's always the case, but that's what generally happens. So it's higher risk for girls. So when you're vague and ambiguous, what's going to happen is it's going to make the girl vague and ambiguous, right? And this is what he talks about the mode 2 framework. This is something that most guys operate in, is mode 2, is that they may flirt, they may give indirect signals, or may say things indirectly, which it's potentially effective. I'm not saying it's completely ineffective, but because I used to operate in that framework, and the thing that I noticed is that you have to be very charismatic. You almost have to play these cat and mouse games. You have to play all these fucking games to figure out if the girl's really into you. And he even argues that you're at risk of dealing with manipulative time wasters, right? Because manipulative time wasters want you to be indirect, so they could get free attention from you, free time from you, right? And that resonated with me because I've had that happen to me before in the past. And the last thing I want is to have my time, resources wasted on me and get frustrated with a girl who didn't really like me, but she just wanted my free attention. And that's another point that I want to get to, is he talks about no free attention, right? When you state your sexual intent from the beginning, I want to have casual sex with you, or I'm not interested in a platonic friendship, I'm not interested in a long-term monogamous relationship. What's going to happen is she's going to know, okay, this guy wants to sleep with me, right? And I would argue that is better than being a fucking indirect, playing all these games, right? And giving her free attention, right? And you don't even know if she likes you or not. But when you're direct, you find out if she likes you, and it saves both of you time. I don't know about you, but for me, I'm working on my own shit. I have my own goals, I have my own business. And the last thing I need is to waste time wondering, playing a cat and mouse game with a girl, wondering if she's into me or not. Because it's not really efficient. It could be a waste of time. It's not worth it. I don't think it's worth it. I think it's a complete pain in the ass, and it can cause frustration, especially if she ghosts you. And that's the thing. That's why I love this book. This is my favorite dating book that I've ever came across. That's why I find it very important to talk about. He talks about that women actually respond better when you state your sexual intent from the beginning. They respond better with it because it gives them their permission to give off their sexual side to them, right? And once again, I'm not a dating expert, so I would definitely recommend you read the book, verify yourself. But I'm just giving it off of what I read from the book and based off of my experience. Now, from my experience with it, I've taken girls out. I've been getting on more dates because of this book, right? I've been getting on more dates. I've slept with women, right? There was a woman recently that I slept with because of it, because of this book. I will thank it to the book, right? Because I was very direct. And the common question I get asked with the women that tell me that I'm very direct, they'll tell me, how did you get so direct? And they'll tell me about other guys they've dated that they're not direct, or they try to pretend like they try to impress them, or they pretend to be friendly and nice. And I say, guys aren't nice to women they wouldn't sleep with, right? Because it's not actually nice, right? It's very manipulative, like what Alan Roger Curry says in his book. He gets more in depth with it. When you're direct, you almost like build trust. You almost like you get rid of the pink elephant in the room, which is that sexual tension that's there, right? Because when you don't address that pink elephant in the room, it's just going to be sitting there in the room, and you guys are going to pretend like you guys are platonically nice with each other, which in reality, you don't care about being platonic with her at all. Let's be honest here, right? You're just giving her free attention unnecessarily, and she's probably seeing you like a brother while you see her as someone you want to sleep with. So it can be frustrating for a guy. So that's why one thing I recommend you do is just state your intent. Don't I know a lot of guys on YouTube too give dating advice and they'll tell you use the push pull method. Um what else? Wear red. Ironically, I'm wearing red, but that's not the reason why I'm filming this. Wear red. Do fucking hop through a bunch of fucking hoops and figure out if she likes you and wait 2 days after. I just think that's a little excessive. I just sure I bet you it works for a lot of guys, right? That stuff. But I think it's almost like a cat and mouse game. It's like almost like bullshit. Like I'm sorry, like I'm dealing with getting my business off the ground. I'm dealing with still navigating a new city for me. I've been in Chicago for about half a year, but still, it's still a fairly new city for me. I'm still working on my goals. Why the fuck am I gonna waste my time, energy, face more ambiguity with women who are playing games with me? That's the way I see it, right? And I'm gonna be upfront. This is gonna be very uncomfortable for you to do, right? This is gonna be very it's gonna be very awkward for you to do. That's the first thing. It's going to be awkward. It's going to be very uncomfortable. When you approach a woman, you directly tell her, I find you attractive. I'll be direct. I find you attractive. You could do this with the barista. You could do this with a woman at the coffee shop. You could do this with a woman at the gym. Yes, people say don't go after women at the gym. You just have to learn not to give a shit about what other people think. And you will get tested by women. Curry even says in the book, you will get tested a lot. You will get tested a lot. You might even face some harsh rejections. But he talks about that's the necessary part of it, right? And you just have to learn just to not give a flying F about it. And I guess I'm going to end it with the book. He talks about like the 4 types of men in this book that men operate from when they communicate with women, at least the way he came up with it. I don't want to spoil it too much, but I'm going to make it super brief. So, mode 1 is the direct approach. That's the one that women actually secretly love. They secretly want a man to tell them that they want sex with them, basically. And women get turned on by it, right? That's the first one, right? The second one is mode 2, which it's not the worst one. Like, it's not terrible. It's potentially effective, he says. And this is the one that most men operate from, is a mode 2 type of framework. Maybe they flirt, maybe they're charismatic, they talk with the women, they laugh with the women, but they talk too much. They fill it up with too much small talk. And the woman might the issue with mode 2 type of framework he talks about is men tend to waste too much time in small talk that they might end up befriending the woman. And they're very vague and ambiguous. And when they're vague and ambiguous, it makes the woman vague and ambiguous. And if they keep talking back and forth about nonsense that has nothing to do with what he was actually talking to her about, or what was his intentions behind him talking to her, she's gonna see him like a friend. You run the risk of getting in the friend zone. You run the risk of getting people to of getting manipulative time wasters, right? You just run the risk of just getting your time wasted. And that's why he shits on that framework, right? The mode 2 type of framework. And then the third one is the mode 3 type of framework. And the mode 3 type of framework is when he puts like 3 different examples of it. He has for mode 3, he has the verbal coward, and that's the guy who doesn't approach whatsoever. He uses an example of the mode 3 verbal coward is basically like not playing the lottery, not taking the free lottery ticket because he's scared he's going to lose, right? That's basically a verbal coward that he calls out on. And he talks about fun clubbing. So guys who are okay with being platonic friends with women, they pretend to be okay, but in reality they're not okay with it because they were interested in something romantic or sexual with the woman. So he talks about that in mode 3. he also talks about the guy who maybe grinded, maybe makes a shit ton of money, right? Tough stuff I talk about, grinding, making the best version of yourself as a man. And maybe the guy grinded. I'm going to give a corporate a job example. So maybe the guy becomes a corporate, he gets a high position, he becomes a president of a Fortune 500 company, right? He makes $200,000 a year. He drives a nice BMW, right? He goes on cool vacations. He bought himself a Rolex because he could afford it finally, right? And all this stuff. He has nice clothes. And he goes on dates with women. He talks about his achievements. He talks about how much money he makes. He talks about how smart he is. He talks about how people respect him in the office. He talks about all of this stuff. But he ends up finding out that the woman's not really into him, right? And it frustrates him. Why? Because women aren't attracted to that. Women aren't attracted to a man showing off his achievements because it screams insecurity, right? And he talks about that from that aspect of mode 3. And the third aspect is, what's the third aspect? The liar, right? So the guy might say, I do want to be in a long-term relationship with you. He ends up sleeping with her, but in reality, he just wanted to have short-term casual sex with her, so he ghosts her, right? Or he ends up cheating on his girlfriend with other women, right? So that's the third one. That's the other aspect of mode 3, which is the liar, right? And that's a very screwed up one. That messes with women's emotions. That's like an unnecessary one. And that's why he argues that mode 1 is better, because mode 1, you may state your sexual intent with the woman from the beginning. You may tell her, listen, I want to have casual sex with you. And she might, regardless of her reaction, you get a reaction right away, but you're also not playing with her emotions. Like, she knows that that's what you want. So if she does it, she doesn't expect a long-term relationship from it. So it actually works better for you and for her, right? So that's his argument with it. And I agree with that completely, right? Especially based on the women that I've dated and met recently. And then mode 4 is the guys who become resentful, right? The guys who haven't found success with women at all. They've struggled with women, and then they start becoming misogynistic towards women. They start hating women, right? And he gives off extreme examples like Ted Bundy and some other guys. And of course, that's extreme. And I really hope no one watching his videos like that. And if you are, I recommend you get some serious help. But it doesn't have to be that extreme. But there are guys who are a mode 4 framework who are very direct with women, but in a very hostile way. Like, you're a whore, you're this, you're that, right? And that's the thing. Those are the guys who are resentful because they haven't had success with women. And he talks about you need to avoid that. He says mode 1 basically helps you avoid that type of framework. Now, there's a lot more to the book than what I just talked about in a about 20-minute YouTube video. So I'm going to leave it at that. I recommend you guys get the book, get the audiobook. It's a very good listen. You can listen to it, super easy to understand, get it on Audible. And I highly recommend you follow the book a few times. Now, people are going to disagree with me. I know this book has gotten a lot of criticism. I don't give a shit. This book worked for me. Most of the dating books out there are kind of bullshit, if I'm going to be completely honest. Like, they give some good advice, but most of it is bullshit. This is the best dating book I've ever read. In my opinion, this is the one that helped me the most. So I highly recommend that you give the book a try. Who knows? Give the book a try. It's going to take some balls to get used to it. And then after a while, you're not going to care. But I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm going to keep creating more content, even though I've been busy. I hope you guys enjoyed. Subscribe and take care.